series, I suggest you shut your YouTube door and download your accredited. And in my opinion, I believe it's probably the UK's leading guy acting researcher and investigator in this phenomenon. And to me, he's a good friend, he's a colleague, and I'm proud to be a friend as well. He's a absolutely incredible. Please give a warm welcome to my friend, Mr. Paul Sinclair.
Thank you. Well, subject matter today is going to be slightly different to what I want to talk about on the research. It's the night vehicles.
Right, we're off. We're going. This time, more than any other time. This time. Right. Okay. Well, hello. Welcome to W.H.I.T News. Viewers and subscribers. And maybe somebody new. Who knows? But yeah, so welcome everybody. Hope you're all well. Fandabidozi. And yeah, so let's just put my readers on and I can see what's coming up. What I've been jotting down. I don't know if I've been actually doing these previous W.H.I.T Newses without them, but yeah, there you go. Now we've got the image right. Let's get on with the show. I've got a little bit to go through, not much, but I think it's stuff which I've jotted down of interest. Right, okay. And also we've got a fantastic UFO video footage. So don't miss that. That's towards the end of the show, but yeah. So stick with me and I'll tell you a little bit more. So, right. So first on the cards, I hope you're all well. Thanks for joining me, viewers and subscribers. So the first one is, you'll see on my last video, you'll see right at the very beginning about a missing dog. Now, it says missing dog, rescue dog, but you know, I mean, I was discussing it with Mick, and what rescue dog does it mean? Does it mean a rescue dog where somebody's gone to the kennels, maybe given a bit to the kennels and adopted the dog and took it home, or is it one where, you know, somebody's up in the mountains and somebody has an accident and it's, you know, a trained rescue dog looking for, you know, somebody who's had an actual accident and sniffing the floor looking for the scent? I don't know. Maybe we read it wrong, but hey ho. But yeah, a rescue dog. I mean, animals are not stupid. They're not, you know, I mean, the way the world is at the moment, they're better trained than us, to be fair. I mean, take for example, did you know that ducks can see 3 times further than us? But there again, pigs have very, very poor eyesight. Sheep, a lot of people say, oh, it's only a fluffy thing, it's, you know, they're thick, they're daft. They're not daft at all. I mean, a human can see in its provisional eye vision that a human is 190 degrees and a sheep is 320. And also as well, sheep, when they're actually feeding off the floor, they can actually move their eyes so they can actually see what's going on as well in front of them. So as well as looking at the floor, they can actually see up as well. So they're not daft at all. So yeah. I mean, I remember seeing a test which is like, can you imagine a square field? And it was on a farm, and it was like, had a line down the middle. As you can imagine, it's a mirror image. So you can imagine that they put empty field, 8 hay bales at the top. So you've got 8 hay bales at the bottom, at the other side of the actual field. And then they put 2 people, one was the actual owner of the farm, and one was the actual, just a standing basically. But they were dressed the same. And then what they actually did do is they let the actual sheep out of the pen and into the field. And not one sheep went to the actual standing. They all went to the actual owner. Now they looked identical at a distance, but it just shows you that they recognised from either face or smell, you know, who the actual true owner of the farm and the owner of the sheep was. I mean, it's just amazing, fascinating when you start looking into it, to be fair. But yeah, so getting back to the rescue dog, there was a phone number and I rang it and we didn't get an answer. I left a message and I said, you know, this is blah blah blah, this is my email address, if you'd like to tell us more, you know, we'd like to know, you know, a bit more about the words really, of the way it was worded. It was like a little bit of a listing at the side, and it said dog was spooked and bolted. Spooked and bolted. I mean, you know what I mean? But like I said, going back to the trained rescue dog, you couldn't imagine that. You can imagine a gun going off it, or at it to jump, but it would still stay in its actual same place, because that's how they're trained. They're not, you know, that's the way they are. That's the nature. That's their job. So yeah, so we didn't have a reply from that, but I just thought I'd let you know, why everybody was probably watching that and saw the post and thought, what's that all about? So that's what it was about basically. So no, we didn't get an actual answer back or a reply, but fingers crossed it did get an happy ending, or it was tagged or somebody found it, whatever. Anyway, next on the cards is, you'll see on the video when it was coming on, it was actually, I was sat next to Mark Ollie. Now I call Mark Ollie a legend because he's just a minefield of, he's done basically everything. He's been in a band, drummers, he's done author, he's done documentaries, he's been on TV. And I was talking to him, and I mean, one of the actual stories he told me was when he was an archaeologist, he had a message from somewhere in Yorkshire, and what they were actually doing was planning the old Roman roads. Now, he got this story and he said, you know, the Yorkshire Heritage or whatever, I can't remember who he said, can you go down and interview this farmer? And what happened was, the story was, I mean, this is what I'm always on about, that you have to think outside the box. So you'll see the key word or words to it as I'm actually telling the story, or you should do, because it is actually thinking out of the box. But basically what happened was, he went down seeing this farmer. He said, you know, can you tell us about this story? And the farmer said, yeah, basically I was in the house, I looked out through the windows at night, and there was a big bright light coming from one of the barns. Now, you all know really a farm setup. You've got a farmhouse, a courtyard, and then maybe a barn in one corner and a barn in another, maybe just one barn. But one of these barns was actually a bright light was coming out of it. And he's the owner. He knows what's in the actual barn. So he put his boots on, put his coat on, opened the door, went across the courtyard, opened the doors, and what did he see? From this light was a full Roman function, an actual, more or less like a function basically. And as he stood there absolutely baffled, they actually started looking at him. Now, it was a bit, you know, I mean, it's like I was saying, and I've had experiences as well, where your mind is seconds behind how you're actually brought up. You can't correspond or think what's actually happening, because it doesn't happen daily, it doesn't happen monthly, it doesn't happen, yearly. It's very rare you see a sighting of the paranormal, but when you do, you can't react fast enough. It's just the way you're brought up. It's the way the body's trained, basically, and the mind. So these actual figures, the Romans, were actually looking back at the farmer, and the farmer was like just baffled, and he just shut the doors, turned round, walked across the actual courtyard, and stopped. And when he turned round again, the light had gone. So basically, Mark was drafted in with his team to find out and dig what was actually built over the top of the barn. So he started digging, and under the barn, and he started digging. And what they actually found was it was an actual Roman function room. What was under the barn? I mean, it's just, it's just madness. So so that's one of the stories he told me, and it just went on and on and on. It was fantastic, to be fair, just brilliant. But like I say, he's been on TV, and he's just released the actual early years of the series, the 3 series actually, and it's the Lost Treasures. Now I do remember it, and I think a lot of people around that time were really looking forward to it coming on weekly. I think it was. I've started watching it again, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's really good. I mean, it's good as well because a lot of it is like around the northwest, and I think he even pops over to Ireland, to be fair, in one of them. So it's fascinating to learn stuff from Mark, as always. But also he was telling me as well, I was talking to him the other day, funny enough, and he sent me an actual listing of what actually is coming on. And he did say that, let me just find it. He said, look out, these are what's actually coming up on YouTube. Look out for the 5-hour-long documentaries to follow on from the same site over the next few months. The life and times of the real Robin Hood, plus the making of the disappearing 9th Legion, brand new 2019, full HD, European Roswell, the original 2008 director's cut, the Roman Lost Mega Fortress, made by the Lost Treasures team and only shown in 2006, and that gets us up to Christmas. So and also as well, on about the European Roswell, he's actually got a book coming out. So I asked him, when is the book available? Because they did have one at the expo, but just one. It weren't full of the information because they're waiting for some critical results of some materials from what they actually retrieved at the site. So he's actually said to me that, fingers crossed, that the European Roswell, 40 years since the impact, and it's currently due for release the first week of November on Amazon. We're just waiting for some critical test results to put in the end of the book. So the way I think he's talking is they've sent them off to 3 different countries. Now they're just waiting for them 3 countries to look at them in a lab and then send them back with the results. That's what they're waiting for. So don't say it's coming on the first week of November. It doesn't actually happen. It's just, that's hoping what they will aim for on Amazon. So keep your eye out for it. I'll put a picture up of the actual cover which he sent me, and I know I'll be buying it because it'll be fascinating. I've seen the DVD. Yet again, they're going to re-release that and put it on YouTube, which I think it should do, to be honest. I think at the time it was spectacular, but now I think a lot more people, how things are, a lot more people are open to, you've all seen it, all the tic-tac videos and whatnot, and the uncovering and talks in court and whatnot. So I think this time, it'll really take off a bit, because at the time it was It was fascinating. But I don't think a lot of people were like, you know, they brushed it to one side, yeah. But now I think a lot more people, and I think the time's right actually to put it back on actually the TV and YouTube. So yeah. Also as well, if you go over to Mick McLaren's channel on Armchair Interviews, he's done one with Mark, but he's also got Mark as well coming up on YouTube on the 7th. So look out for that. There's a poster up there from Mick McLaren already. So have a look at that. Previous to that, you've got Steve Mira. Now, that's fantastic. We watched that the other week. The information, just, you know, what Steve's done over the years, what he's still researching with Barry Fitzgerald, Project Doorway. It's just fascinating, really. Yeah, so watch Steve Mira. But also as well, Steve Mira about the expo, instead of like, you know, running around like a blue bottom fly, just, you know, maybe you should get on stage and tell a little bit more. But if you watch the Armchair Interviews, you'll find out a bit more about Steve Mira. So yeah, so that's something else what Steve should bear in mind to go on stage himself, because I think a lot of people would appreciate it. We've had some more, we've had a great account come in, kind of in the northwest. We're looking a bit more into that, but Mick's done the actual interview with the person. We're waiting for a bit more we're waiting for a bit more, well, a contact basically from this actual person to go to the location, or maybe locations, to do the actual filming there. So that's a great story coming up. A true account, or true accounts he's had. But yeah, we'll let you know a little bit more on that. Yeah, so also as well, like I say, I'm going to end with, this is actually from a family member, to believe it or not. It's from my cousin, and he's got it from one of his friends, and it's his wife who was actually, well, recording it from a bedroom window. There was a lot of people out at the time. It happened 2 weeks ago, over the weekend. She was videoing it, and well, I'll let you have a look and see what you think. But to me, it's fantastic. But we've actually had a look last weekend and blown it up a bit, and it actually, when you see it, the direction, it actually does go over to Winter Hill when we've looked on the map, which is another, you know, another fascinating thing, really. I don't know if it's by coincidence or whatnot, but it just seems strange. So just have a look at that. I've tried to do the best footage as I can, where, as in, I've done it from the actual proper original video, and then I've started to zoom in. Keep your eye on the actual, well, I mean, it looks like red on the actual video. Now, I asked a little bit more about this, and it was red at the time. So the picture and the colour you're seeing of the actual thunder and lightning is the actual colour it was in the video, because I think it was only a few days later from when we had all that Sahara Desert sand, you know. So maybe there was still some left in the air, and that's what gave the colour. But make your own mind up. Like I said, what it is very strange, and that's why I've added it, to be honest. But like I say, I've done it from the original, zoomed it in a bit more, zoomed it a bit more, and then I've slowed it down. So please comment below. I'd love that. Whit would love that. Well, actually, my cousin would love that, to be honest, because he's baffled by it. So just comment below, and we'll find out a little bit more. So yeah, so I'm gonna end it on that note. Thanks for watching again. Give you a couple bit more updates of what we're going through at this end, and keeps you up to date. There actually is some other stuff as well coming. I've got some new equipment which is coming, which is going to a secret location and tested this weekend. But I'll leave a little video on what it is, and I've got it because I think we need it. I think it'll give great results, and fingers crossed on my channel and W.H.I.T channel, and for the full crew, it will get us results, amazing results to be fair. And like I said, we don't just do it for us, we do it for you. I started this channel because I was a skeptic, but you know, it's getting a bit more like I'm a bit more over the halfway fence of, you know, the paranormal, so I'm doing it from you. So if you've been following me from the start, thank you. I can't say thank you enough. We try to bring you information as soon as we know it, really. But like I said, a lot of people know I'm working all the time, but you know, I'm speaking to Mick every week. We try to get out every week. I know if I don't get out working, they're out on their own, you know, lonesome, boots on the ground are us. That's W.H.I.T, and trying to get you results. But like I say, if you watch Mick McLaren's channel, you'll see we've got trail cameras up. We've always got something going. So yeah, so stick with W.H.I.T, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come in the coming future. But yeah, so all I can say is thanks for watching so much. It really, really means a lot. And let's keep knocking on them paranormal doors and get some answers. So I'll speak to you soon. Thanks again. Lee signing out from Headquarters 2. Cheers.